So welcome back for another watercolor instruction video. My name is Sean Turrington Wright and I'm going to show you today how to create convincing mountains, but simple. If you remember in my previous video about mountains, we just used three colors to work in on the existing mountains that look very similar to these ones down here. The only difference, as you can see, is the horizon, sort of the distant one was a bit darker in tone to this one. Okay, so we had to bring these things darker. So we're going to leave the sky and we're going to leave these distant grey mountains, and we're going to work up these other ones into a much more convincing finish. So at the moment, all very light. These are the palettes of my colours, which I've got here to the left, and today we're just going to be using three, with probably a touch of neutral tint as well to darken things if we need to. But we're going to be using ultramarine blue, which is here on the palette. We're going to be using alizarin crimson, which I've used in the other one, to create here. And the final one that we'll use is yellow ochre. So we're just going to be using these three colours, plus maybe a touch of neutral tint if we need to. Okay. We've got a number 12 brush, which looks like this. I've explained this before, and a squirrel mop brush, which looks like this. In the previous video I did talk about using this as Skoda, but again I'm not going to use that. It's not really fine enough, we don't need it. So off we go. So let's mix up some pigment, some alizarin, which is obviously a warm sort of pinky red, nice colour there, and we're going to put in some ultramarine. That's going to create a purple, and we're going to keep this mountains, or these mountains here, in that kind of range. There was a touch of the old mixture in there from the last video because I'm doing these back to back, but you can see straight away the purple coming out, slightly darker tone to what was before. So we're going for a different color scheme this time, slightly different. So that's that in there. That's the first one. Using the same mixture again of the two, I'm going to go slightly darker, and obviously that's going to be quite blue, so we need to warm that up a bit, because the rule is cooler colours to the back and warmer colours to the front. It helps with something called recession, which is how the eye perceives. So let's just try here. That's not too bad. All I added to that mixture there then was some yellow ochre. Let's just pop this in quite quickly. Back into it. Should have enough there, hopefully. Just running in here. I'm going to run these into each other a little bit. I'm going to leave some of the underpaintings to suggest highlights and light coming through. Actually, just run these in. That means that one's run into that one a touch. So blending and bleeding a little bit. These little specks here, I'm going to leave them as well. Doesn't really matter too much. This time we'll pretend the light is coming in this way. So last time we said the light was coming from this left across. Now we'll pretend the light is coming in this way, so we need some lighter parts. I'm just going to show you a quicker way of doing this, because I was putting in the highlights before by taking out, using the brush, or taking out using a tissue. So, and still using the same mixtures, the ultramarine, the alizarin crimson, warm it up, and a yellow ochre, and we're just going to go a bit darker in these. A touch of this neutral tint, which will darken the whole thing off. And here we go. I'm going to pop that in. Oh, nice and dark, lovely. And this is at the foreground. So this mountain, obviously, to the eye would be closer. And because it's closer, we want it darker in tone, and we also want it warmer in tone as well. Just trying to get over the top of the underpainting. I want it popping through now and again, but not all the time. almost done there. Yeah. I'll just drop in a touch more darker on this side. So just the tip of this brush, which means the liquid and the pigment that's inside of the brush hairs is dropping down because I'm just teasing it out really. We said we were going to have the light coming this way, so I'm just preparing that a little bit there. Yeah, and I think tonally that works. It's dark here, getting lighter in tone, slightly lighter still, and then lighter and lighter back there. You can see now the line of mountains here. They're going to be lighter, so I'm going to pop another one in there. We'll use the same mixture, but we're going to go a bit more blue. Whoa, that's nice and blue, if you can see that in the palette. And water this time, but adding a touch of water will keep that tonally quite subdued. Mix this up for the blue, and blue always makes things go back, recede. I don't want to touch into this mountain here, so I need to paint quite carefully on this. So I'd rather leave the gaps next to that mountain of light at the end of painting than touch into it, because otherwise that will bleed all of this into that. Again, the same principle I was using before on the tip of the brush, just to dot in some pigment. If I just do it very gently, I've got more pigment popping in, which is darkening it up slightly tonally. Getting a little bit of variation there. That's quite nice. The light tends to hit mountains in the top, and you get lighter patches across the top, normally in a ridge, but we'll just have the darker tones going down to the bottom. Just there, and we're kind of done. Be really careful. I said I wasn't going to use this number 6 Escoda, but actually I might, just to go in for a little bit more added control to the edge. Okay, that will do. So we're kind of there on that one. The only thing left to do now is to take out, and I could take out some of the pigment with this brush, empty it out with the water. So I think I've shown you this before, so imagine the light's coming this way, so I could just drop out some of that. I just had a feeling that was going to happen, so let's just correct that. Get rid of that pigment. It's actually quite a nice effect because that's blurring in, if you notice. So it's quite nice not to have all the edges just sharp. It's always good practice to bring in variance. So variance from a light to dark, from soft edges to sharp edges. You've also got here, and I'm just gonna, there we go, just take out a couple there, not too much. And this is drying off quite quickly here, so I'll just dampen this with this brush, and then I'll use the tissue. The tissue is great because it's got its own natural sort of textured edges, which going into here, you'll see straight away, will create them. And pop them off. And then just over here, don't want to do too much here, but we'll just suggest light coming in from this side, as we said. And one more here. Might just soak up that there, just by holding it, it just soaks it, look. Just soaks up a little bit of the pigment. We want to make it a bit lighter. And of course, all of these tones, as they dry, will dry lighter, significantly lighter in some cases. And there we go, it's quite nice. Just pop in here. It's making almost like a cracked effect in here. That's just the way the paint's lying. Let's just pop this in here Worth having a go, see how that works out. Quite a lot of light pouring in, light to dark. In terms of just filling around, I'm just going to pop in a little slightly darker tone in here, because you've got light and the dark, and then it's going light to dark there, so you've got darker tone and then lighter, darker here, lighter there. So this is sort of light and dark, always works, and that'll do. I think I was kind of quite pleased with that. Yeah, so you saw in the previous video the way I approached this one. Similar approach. I painted faster with less talking this time. Hopefully that you've seen this video about creating the mountains first, and then this one second, and that's it. Hopefully you'll keep subscribing, keep watching, and come back for some more content. Take care now, and happy painting.